So let's get into the meat of it. Downtown Colorado Springs. Where should we begin?
So, where I always like to begin with the story of downtown Colorado Springs, and really the top line figure that I think does the best job of telling our story and where we are today, is over $863 million in new investment since 2013. So we published in our State of Downtown report earlier this year, and our annual State of Downtown report really is a snapshot of all the development and growth and everything happening downtown on an annual basis. So that really represents kind of an unprecedented level of investment in downtown. And what's most exciting is that as we near the end of this decade, we are starting to push that 1 billion figure. So I hate to speculate too much, but I can confidently say that, I think by 2020, we can say that we saw $1 billion in new public and private investment in downtown between 2010 and 2020. And that, again, I think is unprecedented for this community. So that's really, really exciting for us. And certainly it's something that you see manifested in large projects and small projects. The I-25 Cimarron interchange was a large public project that occurred recently. Of course, we have all the new apartment buildings that are going up and several hotels. We're actually in the process right now of, we have 4 active hotel projects that when completed will have doubled the number of hotel beds downtown in the space of about 5 years. If not a little less. So that type of development and that type of growth is really exciting, and I think really represents a unique turning point. Again, not just for downtown, but for the city, recognizing that downtown really is a shared asset for everybody that lives here in this city.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really, it's exciting for me too. Having lived in Denver for a year, I was there in 2016, and at that point, Denver was gaining a lot of attention. There was a lot of investment. It was really kind of self-sustaining in terms of its development. But coming here to the Springs, to a community that really, for so long, I think, resisted urbanization and densification, it provided a unique experience to really see what it's like to build a downtown from the ground up and to really start, not necessarily from scratch, but to start at a point where you really have to overcome a long history of, to be honest, poor urban planning and poor urban development. The city, of course, being 200 square miles roughly, you can see it in the map behind you. We're a city that for so long we grew outwards, we expanded, we annexed, and there wasn't a ton of attention paid to our urban core. And I think what's interesting about that is now, I think of a site selector tour that the chamber hosted recently, and during this tour, there was a panel with the site selectors who were participating, and one of the site selectors made a comment about how the relationship between Colorado Springs and Denver is similar to the relationship between Richmond, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. But then he made the comment that, of course, Richmond's twice the size of Colorado Springs and D.C. is twice the size of Denver. The reality is Colorado Springs is actually twice the size of Richmond in terms of its population. We have a greater population than a greater city population than Miami. Of course, that's not the metro area. We have a greater population than Raleigh. We're a city of almost 500,000 people, but you wouldn't know it by looking at our downtown. Which, again, I think the image that it creates and the perception that it gives to potential investors from outside the community is that we're a small town. When in reality, we have the density of people, we have the consumer base and the density of innovation to be a truly great major city. I think we just sell ourselves a little short sometimes.